To begin with, at the first-year press conference, myself and Greeno both felt that Daniel Nations was a prime person of interest in the Delphi murders. He was a sexual offender. He was on the run from Indiana. He left in a vehicle that had expired plates and was in Colorado living with his family at a hiking trail. When he was pulled over by law enforcement out there, he had in the trunk a .22 caliber rifle, which he was not supposed to have on his possession, being a felon. Now, he had a history of angry outbursts. He had PTSD. He had been involved with at least 3 sexual offenses, including public masturbation and viewing porn on his cell phone while doing so. His history gave us indications that he was firstly addicted to porn. He would hang out at trails. He had a history of public masturbation and angry episodes, and those added up to a person of interest. And we began writing mail to Daniel Nations while he was in a Colorado jail. He wrote us back and wanted a telephone number that we could be reached at. So I mailed him my neighbor's phone, and he called us through there. I was in written and verbal communication with Daniel Nations through the whole of his stay in Colorado, as well as his stint in Johnson County after Indiana extradited him back from Colorado to be spoken with by Indiana investigators, and his DNA was taken to be tested against. I still have Daniel's full written statement of innocence and ended up telling him after many calls that I had first wrote to him because I felt that he may have played a hand in the Delphi, Indiana murders. Daniel was pissed, but that didn't bother me as I never asked to be Daniel's friend. They extradited Daniel back to Johnson County, Indiana for failure to notify Johnson County, Indiana, that he was a prior sex offender. After extradition, they asked him questions and gathered his DNA, of which they already had his DNA, as he was an Indiana sex offender already. And with DNA and fingerprints to be matched against, I don't know, man, I'm just an amateur, but it seems they knew long ago that he was not the Delphi murderer.
Here's what they didn't show you.
As you all know, we went out to Colorado and we spent a little bit of time with him.
We know they never got to question Daniel Nations in Colorado. Listen to Daniel's statement of innocence.
The only reason I feel I have yet to be rolled out as a person of interest in Indiana is because my public defender, without consulting with me, turned the Indiana State Police away. Had he not, I would have given them my DNA, and that would have been it. They would have already rolled me out.
We were in at least some amount of hope that at the first-year press conference there might be an announcement of a suspect. Now, I had spoken with Daniel Nations the night prior to the first-year press conference. He told me that they had spoken with him and got his DNA. When Indiana investigators went out to Colorado to speak with Daniel, they were stopped at the door by Daniel's public defender and never got to speak to Daniel Nations. Daniel added that his public defender stopped them without his consent to do so, as Daniel wanted to talk to them and clear his name of the Delphi murders. We couldn't make how Daniel would have firstly, A, got gas money to get to Delphi, or B, in what other way he could have gotten there alone. The sketch did look a little like Daniel, but Bridge Guy clearly did not to me. I did not feel that the Bridge Guy pictures looked at all like Daniel. A lot went into researching Daniel Nations. We looked over his legal past as well as his family history, and that man had a tough going to it of life, but he didn't commit the Delphi murders.
Everybody ready? Good afternoon. I want to thank you all for coming today. Today we're going to talk about the Abby Libby case. Some of the people standing behind me is Superintendent Doug Carter with the Indiana State Police. You got Detective Deputy Sheriff Kevin Hammond over there. You got Sheriff Tobe Lesby with the Carroll County Sheriff's Department. On this side, FBI Special Agent Mike Peasley, and then First Sergeant Jerry Holman. They're going to discuss to you they're going to discuss today the things that have been going on over the last year with this case. Superintendent Carter will do most of the talking, and at this time I'll turn over the podium to him. Thank you.
Well, first of all, welcome. I didn't really know what to expect when I stood on this trail just a little bit ago, over the course of the last 15 minutes, but very uncomfortable feeling. We're a year today. I would be remiss to not talk about the people that have made this whole for the first year without an arrest. We talked about Sheriff Linsonby, who stands behind me to the left, and Kevin Hammond, Mike Peasley with the FBI, Jerry Holman over my right shoulder, Steve Buckley, the new prosecutor Nick McClelland here in Carroll County. What I've seen over this course of the last years are memories and times and comments and things that will stand with me and live with me for the rest of my life. The very best of humanity in the very worst of times. I was able to see from afar this community in Carroll County and the city of Delphi come together and support not only law enforcement and the people that were here that have given so much of their lives to this case, but also to the families. And I just wanted to say I am forever humbled. I don't know what you expected today, but I came to plead and implore you to keep this out front and center. I've said before, and I'm confident I'll say again, I hope that one day when we all meet Abby and Libby that they tell us you did well. That's my hope. We cannot allow evil to prevail. Our world is completely out of balance, and we cannot allow that to prevail. I've said all along that we, as an agency, will be here as long as I'm breathing and as long as Governor Holcomb allows me to continue to stay in the position that I hold. I have the opportunity to brief him regularly. This isn't about how many hours we spend. It's not about how much it costs. It's about every single asset that the ISP has we will give to this sheriff, this community, and to each and every one of you. Because I refuse to accept evil as a standard bearer in American society. Not here. People have oftentimes asked me, why is this so personal to you? It's personal to me because those two young girls were everybody's daughter. In this beautiful place that represents the very best of humanity. And look what happened. That's why it's very personal to me. And I just hope that one day I can look into the eyes of a murderer and ask him why. And I believe that we will. I believe that we will. I know you have a bunch of questions for me. But please understand, if the question has to do with the investigative process, tactics associated with the investigation, what only the killer would know, that we know, I can't answer your question. And I just ask you to ask for you to please understand that when we open this up. Many people have said, did you think it'd be a year? I don't know. I don't know. How do you answer that question? I believe we're one piece of the puzzle away from figuring out who this individual is. Then the real work begins. Over 30,000 tips. Thank heavens the FBI was engaged with us, with the Orion system and the expertise that the FBI brought from all over the country to allow us to manage that kind of data. We've had inquiries and requests for discussion from agencies all over the country, not only because this is such a high-profile case, but because of the complexities associated with the time since we found their bodies a year ago tomorrow. As I close my comments to you, I want to say thank you. I've had the pleasure of having relationships with our local media and our statewide media and even our national media for more than 30 years. I appreciate our partnership. I appreciate our partnership I've had the opportunity to travel to the East Coast and the West Coast with Mike and Becky and the families to continue to perpetuate this message if somebody out there knows who this individual is. None of that's possible without you. It's really, really important that you understand how important and what the importance of the role is that you play. Technology is wonderful, but technology can also challenge us. I would ask that folks not continue to compare photographs on the internet. Please, if you have an idea of an individual, of a comment, of a phrase, of a name, that you send it to us. It creates lots of complications when that analysis is done outside of the purview of the experts that I happen to be able to represent there standing behind me today. So I hope you hear me loud and clear. If you're watching this and you're responsible, today may be your day. It might be tomorrow, but I can guarantee you your day's coming. We've got to perpetuate the relationship that we have, and we've got to not stop. Ladies and gentlemen, I've seen detectives that have given their lives to this case, that have held off and discussed holding off retirement, that have canceled family vacations, that work nights, weekends, and holidays, so that we can explain to you one day and to this incredible community and to our state what happened. So our commitment is longstanding. It's real. It's as real today as it was 365 days ago, and it'll be as real tomorrow as it was today. We are not going away. We are not going away. With all that said, the floor is yours.
Superintendent, how do you speak to that one individual? You said it may be just a tip away. So how do you encourage that somebody, whoever they may be, to provide you with that information that you need to put the pieces together to solve this?
That's a great question. And the answer is each of you. I talked about that relationship. You see, in all of my career, I don't ever remember having the photograph of a person that we believe is responsible. I don't ever remember having the voice of a person that we think is responsible.
Guys. Downhill. Guys. Downhill. Guys. Downhill.
Or having a sketch of the individual that we believe is responsible. So, if all of you closed your eyes for just a moment and you thought of a family member, but you didn't think of them from the neck up, you would know how they stand and the clothes they wore and their posture. You would know that voice. I would know it if it was my father, just like you would know it if it was yours. Somebody out there knows who this person is. And fortunately, I'm not going to say unfortunately, fortunately, we have such a relationship with you that you've kept this front and center, because we couldn't do it. We couldn't do it. But you guys are. I don't think there's multiple pieces to the puzzle, ladies and gentlemen. I think there's one piece, and it's having one individual with the strength to say, that was my brother, or that's my dad, or that's my cousin, or that's my neighbor, it's my coworker. That's all we need. And I think we're one piece away. One piece. Good question, Raphael. I appreciate that.
Superintendent, how do you measure progress, and how much progress has been made in the last year?
Yeah, so another good one. How do you measure progress? How do we know if we're making progress? Tips. I think if we do this mathematically, it's over 30,000 tips. I've heard this guy say to me multiple times, Superintendent, when we're out of tips, we're going to start all over with the ones we got. There's this notion that this is cold. It's not cold. This is not going to be cold. I'm not sure where that comes from. So as those tips continue to come in, we'll continue to work them the very, very best that we can. We'll bring detectives in from all the posts around Indiana that I'm responsible for. And the local law enforcement entities that have resources, we'll bring them all together and we'll go out after the tips that we have. That generally leads to more tips, and then can lead to more tips. So we will continue to manage those tips, and when we're all done, we're going to start all over, because that piece of the puzzle's in the pile someplace. Yes, sir.
Daniel Nations has been called a person of interest. What does that mean for the Indiana State Police when you say someone's a person of interest?
Well, I think the inverse to that statement is, until there's somebody arrested, we're interested in almost everybody. But we as you all know, we went out to Colorado and we spent a little bit of time with him.
The only reason I feel I have yet to be rolled out as a person of interest in Indiana is because my public defender, without consulting with me, turned the Indiana State Police away. Had he not, I would have given them my DNA, and that would have been it.
And you guys didn't get to talk to him in Colorado. Okay, but since he's been back here, he called last night, and he said that investigators did talk to him this week. Now, is there anything that you can say on
really,
like
I can't comment on anything.
but he's still a person of interest after discussing it with him.
That is correct.
And that's all I'll say about Daniel Nations.
Now that a year has gone by, do you guys have a new path when investigating this case, or is it still relying on those tips? Is it, what you've been doing every day for the last year?
Yeah. I think that repetitive nature is going to reveal something that's right before us, and we just don't know what it is yet.
Superintendent, you have been on the national TV programs. You have harnessed the resources of not only your agency, but also the wishes of the FBI and Carroll County. Is there something that you have not done, sir? I mean, as you look at your checklist, what have you not done humanly possible already to look into this case? What is that? Is there something you haven't done?
You're going to get into my soul a little bit with a question like that.
We'll take your soul.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you why. I want to tell you why. Because of what my eyes have seen and what the eyes of these fellows behind me have seen that you haven't seen. About 3/4 of a mile from here. There is not a day goes by at the end of my day that I don't think is tonight the night that I'm going to get a call that something bad happened to somebody that I represent, an Indiana trooper someplace in Indiana. Or is there something that we haven't done that we could do? Is there a level of support that I have not given to this sheriff or to Jerry Holman and the multitude of resources that we have here in Carroll County? What are we missing? You see, we're human beings just like you. And this continues to play in our minds. Every single morning I wake up and I realize my phone might have rang, but everybody's okay. But is today the day in Delphi? Is today the day in Flora? It comes to my mind every single morning, and sometimes in the middle of the night. So I appreciate the question, Raphael. The answer is absolutely yes. I can speak for myself, and I can't even fathom what the folks standing behind me must think and the way in which it's affected their lives.
Like you mentioned, you have the killer's voice, you have this picture, you have a detailed sketch. That's more information than a lot of the cases that you guys have passed and resolved. 1 year later, you have all that information. How did you have to do it?
Answer the question for me. I wish I could answer it. I've said locally, statewide, and even nationally that sometimes our citizenry doesn't trust us. And I acknowledge that and recognize that we are not without sin. I know that. And I would just like to think that the person that might know about this maybe doesn't trust us and doesn't want to tell us. Maybe they don't think we can protect them. Oh yeah, we can. Yeah, we can. And we've got to work to regain that community's trust, these community trust. And I think we're getting there. That's not $1 million question. That's $1 billion question. And I'd give my life to be able to answer it.
Have you been able to clear anybody in this case?
I think that the people that we have talked to at this point in time, we feel confident that there was no involvement. No, we are not. We think that we've released enough now that if there's a possibility of identifying the killer based on that photograph, we'll be able to do that. And that's all I can say about the video and audio that we have. Yeah. As needed, absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. That's an investigative process that will continue to perpetuate itself over time. $1 billion question, isn't it? I don't know.
Would you say the case has slowed down? Obviously, not cold by any means, with so many tips still coming in, but has it slowed down a little bit? Maybe not as many
as with any major case, it ebbs and flows, right? I mean, the rhythm, it ebbs and flows. And this one is certainly no different. When it does slow down, it gives these incredible servants standing behind me an opportunity to take a breath. Then about the time they get that breath, something else happens and they fire right back up into high gear. I have no indication to believe that that's going to stop or slow down.
How are you holding up? How busy are you? How are you handling this with your building?
Physically, I'm handling it fine. As Superintendent Carter says, I think about this every night I go to bed. I lay in bed thinking, what could we have done today? Who do we need to follow up on? It's a never-ending with me. Weekends, I'm still working on it. There's weekends I've come into the command center and just do stuff on my own, just to get stuff done by myself. So it's 24/7 almost for me.
Having your local relationships with so many people here, and you've been on this case since the beginning, has that helped you and helped Indiana State Police?
It's helped a lot. A lot of the state police that come in from other posts don't know the area, don't know people, so they'll come into me or even Detective Liggett, who's also helped. We help them out, get them to the right people, and follow up where we can.
Detective, people are trying to find something to do. They want to be part of the solution. So what do you suggest that they do as we enter the second year? Besides giving you that call that you need, what can the public do to help you get this case on the right track so you can talk?
As far as local, the public's been fantastic. The support has been fantastic from Carroll County, from food to snacks to beverages. Just every time I go to a local store, they're, hey, we're thinking of you, we're proud of you. So the local support has just been great. But just stay vigilant. If you see something, let us know. I mean, it could be local, could be distance. At this point, we don't know. Again, always be visual of your surroundings when you're out and about.
How has this case changed you as a person? You guys talk to people here, like Superintendent Carter talks, and Toad talks. Every single investigator, you can tell it's really taken a toll.
It has.
So, seeing the family, having to give them updates, which sometimes are non-updates at this point, how does that affect you? So you go home, you can't get it off your mind.
It affects me because I have children at home too. So I am more vigilant with my own children than what I ever was before this had happened.
Talk about the significance you guys put about this press conference at your guys' office and school research. Why here?
We had that very conversation, and having, was it going to be in town? Was it going to be at the city building? Was it going to be at the old office on the courthouse square? I was pretty adamant, in my opinion, was that it's where they would last were, and they walked right here. They walked right where I'm standing. I thought that's why it was significant to have it here today. And the response was, "What if it's snowing?" And I said, "Who cares?" So I think everybody would agree.
Your platform that you got to do in connecting with the Patties and the Williams to so many different talk shows, national talk shows, you're able to get your message out there to so many people. That garnered so many tips. Is that something you're going to continue?
Listen, every single opportunity that we get to throw this out to the front, whether that be in a newspaper in small town southern Indiana, or whether it be on a national stage, Dr. Phil was 135 countries and I think 20 million people. Absolutely, yes. Again, it resonates with the relationship with all of you. Please understand the importance you play and how important it is that you're here. I didn't know what to expect when we flew in, but I looked down and I saw this line of cars, and I'm so grateful, so very grateful to you. It's my hope that the killer's watching us. It's my hope.
Take two more questions.
If he is, whether there has been speculation on social media, whether he's watching now on TV or online, he may think it's a year I got away with it. Your response?
Keep thinking that. Keep thinking that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to know why. That photo has been around the world this last year. Everyone's seen it. Over 30,000 tips have been phoned in, and nobody knows who that pixelated image is. Facial details on it can't be determined. So why do they keep insisting that they need someone to recognize who that is in that pixelated image? This was my question at the press conference.
You got local, state, and the FBI here. It's been a year and over 30,000 tips. I'm going to say that people cannot identify him by that pixelated image. I just don't think it's possible. Is that what you guys are depending on? Is somebody turning in a tip that identifies that image?
That's one piece, of course, and I agree with you completely. But that would be one investigative step for us. The other investigative step might be a hunch, might be a notion that someone has. It would be great if someone came out and said, yeah, that is this person, first and last name. I know it is.
But it has to come from an individual.
Likely. Very likely. From an individual, yes. Yes.
Point though on the scientific element, as you refer to, not specifically saying DNA, but anything you could be still waiting for the labs, nothing updated?
No, the science piece of this I'm going to keep very, very close to the vest. Very close to the vest.
Thank you very much for coming today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you all very much.
After the first year press conference, there was no announcement of a suspect and the case was still ongoing. Now, I wasn't allowed back for the second year press conference, which was likely because of my question at the first year press conference, but after the first year press conference, I did get to speak with Trooper Kim Riley. This was what he had to say.
I mean, what's up with the investigation? I mean, like, how's come nothing's came forward? It seems like a lot of
It's just one of those situations when we got a case that this person's never apparently committed a crime before. We have,
You would feel that he had never committed a crime. He has no DNA in the database.
Well, I can't comment on that, but I'm just saying that's what it looks like. I mean, it's a possibility he's done something, but we can't find no traces of it.
That was my first thought. I thought anybody at that age that would commit a crime like that would have priors.
Yeah, you never know. You got to start somewhere. I'm not the jury. All we do is collect evidence.
No, right, but that's why I was just wondering if there was anything that you could share upon.
Not at this point in time.
Okay.
But appreciate you asking.
I am keeping my eyes on it, as hard as I can. Thank you.
Well, there was no suspect announcement. There was no charges filed. But we did find out one thing at the first year press conference, that the suspect had apparently never been caught committing a crime, had never been arrested. Now, with DNA, and only DNA, it's taken for specific crimes. But to say a person had never committed a crime implies that you probably have fingerprints, because fingerprints are always taken when you are arrested, every single time. So that is kind of the wrap up and the review of the first year press conference. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for being here with me. Peace, everyone.